Monster Creepypasta.
This is 3 scary creepypasta horror stories. You told me about the night you and your fiancée were lost at sea. I don't know how you made it back to shore, but I can see in your eyes that part of you never really left. It was supposed to be a peaceful trip you guys were taking. Just the two of you, a small boat, and endless waves under the stars. The kind of night you'd tell your kids about one day. But then the engine stalled. You said you didn't panic at first, thinking it was just a glitch. You tried to restart it, but the motor sputtered and died, again and again, until it was just you, your lover, and the sound of the waves lapping against the hull. You told me how dark it was, how the moonlight barely touched the water. The horizon blurred into shadows, and it felt like the ocean was swallowing you whole. And around that moment, that's when things began to get bizarre. You said it was soft at first, almost too faint to notice, a melody drifting over the waves. It was haunting and eerie, the kind of sound that burrows into your mind and wraps itself around your thoughts. You both looked at each other, both creeped out, and neither of you could figure out where the singing was coming from. The song grew louder, weaving itself into the wind, the water, even the air around you. It wasn't just music. You felt its strong vocals pulling at you, serenading you, and you found yourself not being able to resist. But then you saw hands. They rose slowly, breaking the surface of the water. Webbed, human-like fingers, pale and glistening in the moonlight. They reached for the boat, clawing at the sides, scraping against the wood. You said you froze, staring as more hands appeared, too many to count. Your fiancé screamed, you almost did as well, but the sound was swallowed by the song. You grabbed your fiancé, tried to pull them away as the hands reached higher, dripping salt water onto the deck. You said you couldn't see their faces, only their hands and the way the water rippled unnaturally. But you felt their presence, their hunger, and their malice. Your fiancé started to move toward the edge, as if they were hypnotized. Like they was in a trance, their eyes unfocused, their bodies swaying with the rhythm of the song. You had to grab them, hold them back, even as their feet dragged against the deck. You told me how the song got louder, more insistent, and for a moment, you thought about jumping in too. It wasn't a conscious thought, it was deeper than that, like your body was betraying you. You shook it off, fought against whatever was pulling you to the edge, fought it with everything you had, even as the hands kept reaching, their claws scraping closer to your fiancé's legs. And then the boat shifted. You told me the water swirled violently, as if something massive was circling beneath you. The boat rocked so hard you both fell, and for a moment you were face to face with the edge. You saw the water churn, saw a flash of something beneath the surface, something sleek, shimmering, and too large to comprehend. You grabbed your loved one again, pulled them to the center of the boat as the song turned into something wailing, angry and desperate. The hands thrashed, slamming against the sides of the boat, trying to tip it. You told me you screamed into the night, begged for help, but the ocean didn't care. It was just you, your fiancé, and them. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The hands vanished, slipping back into the depths. The water spilled, the song faded into the distance, leaving behind a silence so heavy you could hardly breathe. You said you sat there for hours, clutching the love of your life, waiting for the sun to rise. When it did, the ocean looked normal again, calm, peaceful, as if nothing had happened. But you know it wasn't a dream. You still hear the song sometimes, reminding you of that horrid event, late at night when everything else is quiet. And you told me one thing you'll never forget. When the hands disappeared, you swear you heard them laughing. You told me about the night you and your friends were walking home from the arcade. It was the late 80s, and you guys had spent hours there, pockets stuffed with quarters, the neon lights reflecting off your faces. You were just kids, maybe 13 or 14, trying to stretch the night as far as it would go. The arcade was on the edge of town, and the quickest way home was down that long, dark country road. You told me how quiet it was. The only sound was your sneakers crunching the gravel. The moon barely lit the path, and the trees on either side loomed over you, their branches twisting, slightly moving in the wind. You and your friends, Tommy, Craig, and Nate, were joking around, still hyped from the games. But then you heard an eerie sound, a laugh. It wasn't loud at first, just a high-pitched giggle that floated out from the woods beside you. You said you all froze, looking at each other, trying to figure out if you'd really heard it. Then it came again. It wasn't a normal laugh. It was too sharp, too shrill, like some type of animal screaming out in the night. You said it made your skin crawl, like it wasn't meant for your ears. Tommy whispered to the rest of you, "What was that?" But no one had an answer. Craig tried to laugh it off, saying it was probably just an animal, but his voice was shaking. Then the cackling started. It wasn't just one laugh anymore. It was a chorus, carrying through the trees, bouncing from one side of the road to the other. You told me it sounded like it was coming closer, surrounding you all. That's when you all ran. You said you didn't even think about it. One second you were standing there, and the next you were sprinting down the road, the laughter chasing you. Your heart was pounding so hard you thought it would burst, and the woods felt like they were closing in, the shadows reaching out to grab you. When you finally stopped, you were all gasping for air, your legs burning. Nate doubled over, clutching his knees, and you looked back, expecting to see nothing but the empty road behind you. But that was the moment you saw her. She crawled out of the woods on all fours, her movements jerky and unnatural, like she was more a beast than a human. Her hair was wild, matted with leaves and dirt, and her clothes hung off her body in rags. You said the worst part was her face. It was pale and stretched, her eyes too wide and gleaming in the moonlight. Drool dripped from her mouth, glistening as it pooled on the ground beneath her. She didn't walk. She skittered like a spider, her limbs bending in ways they shouldn't. And then she lunged. You told me you'd never ran faster in your life. You could hear her behind you, her claws scraping the pavement, her breathing wet and ragged. At one point, you felt her fingers graze the back of your shirt, and you nearly tripped, but Tommy grabbed your arm and pulled you forward. When y'all reached Nate's house, you slammed the door behind you and locked it, the four of you collapsing in a heap on the floor. For a moment, you thought you were safe. But then the pounding started. She was outside, slamming her fist against the door, the wood creaking under the force. You said her cackling was even louder now, almost deafening, and it didn't sound human anymore. You grabbed anything you could to barricade the door, chairs, a coffee table, even a lamp. But then the pounding stopped. You told me the silence was worse. That's when you heard her climbing. The sound of her nails scraping against the side of the house made your stomach drop. You all huddled together, staring at the ceiling as the thuds of her hands and feet moved upward. When she reached the roof, she started laughing again, louder than ever, her voice twisting into screams that made your ears ache. You said it felt like she was right above you, like she could break through the ceiling at any moment. None of you dared move. You stayed like that for what felt like hours, listening to her pace back and forth, her footsteps ringing out through the house. Then, as suddenly as she arrived, she stopped. You heard her climbing back down, her claws scraping against the walls. You crept to the window and peeked out, just in time to see her disappearing into the woods. You said she didn't look back, didn't even glance at the house. She just crawled away, her laughter fading into the trees. To this day, you don't know what she wanted, but you told me something I can't stop thinking about. When she lunged for you on the road, you swore she whispered your name. It started when you were 10 years old. You'd always been afraid of the dark, but this was something else, something you couldn't explain. Every night as you turned off the light, your closet door would creak open. Not all the way, just enough for it to get out. The first time it happened, you thought you were dreaming. You were lying in bed, the blankets pulled up to your chin, when you heard the soft scrape of the closet door against the carpet. You froze, your heart pounding in your chest. That's when it appeared. A small, hunched figure climbed out of the shadows, its movement slow and deliberate. It was no bigger than a toddler, but it wasn't a child. Its limbs were too long, its fingers too spindly. Its skin was pale and full of scars, stretched tight over its bony frame. The worst part was its face. It had two wide-opened eyes, both dark red with bulging black pupils. Its mouth was a thin, crooked line, and when it opened slightly, you could see rows of razor-sharp teeth. You wanted to scream, to run out of your room to get your parents, to do anything other than lay there, but you couldn't move. It was like your body wasn't yours anymore. You were completely paralyzed, forced to watch as the creature crawled onto your bed. It didn't attack you. It didn't even touch you. It just sat at the foot of your bed, its eyes fixated on you. You could hear its breathing, raspy and wet, like it was struggling to take in air. It never made another sound, never said a word. It just stayed there, watching, until the first light of dawn crept through your window. And then it was gone. As soon as the sunlight hit your room, you could move again. You bolted out of bed, ran to your parents, and told them what you'd seen. But they didn't believe you. They said it was just a nightmare, just your imagination playing tricks on you. But it wasn't. The creature came back the next night, and the night after that. Every single night it would climb out of your closet, perch at the foot of your bed, and watch you until the sun rises. No one else ever saw it. Your mom, your dad, your siblings, they all thought you were making it up. You'd tried everything to stop it. You kept the closet door locked, but it didn't matter. You piled furniture in front of it, but the door would still creak open, and you couldn't move. Every time, as soon as it appeared, you were frozen, trapped in your own body, forced to endure its silent, suffocating presence. After weeks of this, you started researching what it could be. You found stories of similar creatures, shadow figures that haunted children at night, feeding on their fear. Some called them bed watchers. Others said they were spirits of children who had died tragically, seeking someone to take their place. One article suggested that they were harbingers of death, marking their chosen victim before stealing their soul. You didn't know what to believe. All you knew was that it wasn't going away. And then, one night, it did. It didn't crawl out of the closet. The door stayed shut, and your room was eerily quiet. You didn't sleep that night, too afraid it was hiding somewhere, waiting. But it never appeared. For the first time in months, you felt relief, until you heard about your friend. A few days later, your parents sat you down to tell you the news. Your friend had disappeared. His parents found his bed soaked in blood, but there was no sign of him. The moment they told you, your stomach dropped. You knew it was the creature, somehow. It had moved on to your friend's house, and it had taken him. You didn't tell anyone what you knew. Who would believe you? To this day, you don't know why it chose your friend instead of you. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Maybe you didn't give it what it wanted. All you know is that you survived. But every now and then, when you lie awake at night, you think you hear it. The soft creak of a door, the scrape of nails against wood, and you wonder if it's coming back for you.